Okay, everybody, we are live here today. My name is Scott Fuller, founder of leavingthebayarea.com. If you joined us before, you know that every episode with our Market Insider series, we travel the country to some different locations that we're seeing popular for Bay Area residents as well as Californians overall that are considering moving to, provide a lot of great information and overview of the city. And today, we've got a great guest on today. We're going to be covering Tulsa, Oklahoma. With me, I've got Darryl Baskin with eXp Realty. Darryl, welcome.
Good afternoon, Scott.
How are you?
Excellent.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm looking forward to today's program. I know you've got a lot of really good information on Tulsa to give to our viewers today. Maybe let's start off. Give us a little bit of background with your history in Tulsa, and if you were a transplant or if that's where you're originally from, and kind of your background.
Well, I moved here in junior high about 1983, and that's when everybody was leaving. I went to my dad was relocated here, and the kids in my class at school said, "Why are you moving? Everybody moving in, everybody's leaving." That was the oil crash, and so every day since then, it was a terrible time in Tulsa's history because of all those relocations taking place outside the city. Every day since then has been really great because everybody's rediscovered Tulsa.
Yeah.
So I grew up here and started real estate when I was in my late teens with my dad. I actually got licensed and started selling when I was 19. I had a terrible credibility problem. So in 1993, being 23 years old, I got on TV to start building that credibility, and my career really took off from there. Today I do a radio program, no longer do television with the advent of YouTube, and been on KRMG, the news talk radio station here in Tulsa, and been there for about 20 years and 1,000 programs. So it's been a lot of fun, very community involved, and that brings us to today.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I know that you've got a real, a very well-known group there. Your team, your business there is very well known, and you're certainly a subject matter expert, and that's why I'm excited to have you on the program today. So obviously we see a lot of people who are moving out of the Bay Area. They're looking at, some different options. From what I've heard and what you've told me before and what I've read is that there's a lot of people and a lot, moving to Tulsa, and there's a lot of growth there from population as well as a business standpoint. For the people that you're working with or you see moving into the area, where do you see them generally coming from?
We do see a lot of people coming from the coast, especially the West Coast. And partially, a lot of different reasons. We'll see businesses relocate here because we are in the center of the United States, which we do have an international airport, although we don't have many international flights. Our airport has the capability and serves a lot of, it's a decent hub for a lot of access. So people can live here affordably, run their business affordably, ship from Tulsa because of its central location. And many people also retire here because our weather, we have a very good climate, and you can travel to where you want. It's affordable to be in Tulsa and then have the extra money to go to all the vacation destinations, travel to see family, etc., without having to sustain a home that's got a high cost of living.
Yeah, the proximity actually absolutely is great. So the people that you're seeing move into the area, are they coming in for job opportunities? Are they coming in more for retirement, or is it a mix of the two?
It's a mix of the two, interestingly. We have a lot of focus on entrepreneurialism here, and the Tulsa has, I would say, well known for incubation. The arts, new startups, business startups, a lot of restaurants test their markets here. So it's interestingly, we're in the center of the United States where people think we're not very diverse, but we are pretty diverse. And so if it works here, it will probably work just about anywhere else, is what
it's a good proving ground.
Testers do. Yeah.
So talking about, you mentioned cost of living, and I was just reading something. This is a survey put out about a month ago by move.org. They studied 75 major cities across the U.S. To look at the lowest monthly cost of living, or let's say the best affordability. Tulsa came in at number 6.
Not surprising.
Not surprising, right?
Right. Tulsa has a lot to offer, and while you might find a lower cost of living somewhere, you don't find a higher quality of life, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's all relative, right?
That's right. Just a lot here, a lot of culture, The city is not so large that you spend your life getting back and forth, and yet it has the convenience of a good metro area. So people have just really discovered Tulsa as a hidden gem.
So let's go in a little bit deeper, because I'm sure that what people are really interested in knowing is how far is my dollar going to go? So let's say you're selling a house in California, you're considering Tulsa. What can you buy there? So I know that you've got some great examples you can pull up and give us kind of you share your screen with us and give us kind of a virtual tour of some of the areas and what you can actually get, for the dollar amount.
Sure. Let me just give you an overview using Google Maps first and show you most of Tulsa has developed. Here's our city center right here in the upper left-hand quadrant. And the majority of Tulsa's development was south and east. And each one of these grid lines is a mile. So if it helps you kind of measure with a quick look at where you are, Broken Arrow, which is our largest suburb right over here on the lower right-hand side, is just an easy jog down what we call the Broken Arrow Expressway. And if you looked at that as a suburb, let me take a quick look at an area called Forest Ridge. You can see the access there is really good, good expressway access. But here's a house in Forest Ridge. It's actually under contract, and this photo isn't that good, but I wanted to show you one that has a contingency offer on it. So somebody liked it enough to want to buy it at $199,000. That's probably a good reason they wanted to buy it. And
absolutely, yeah.
Here's one at $350,000, and this represents probably the bulk of the market right now in Broken Arrow. You see a 3-car garage and the full brick exterior, formal dining and living areas.
Wow.
It is beautiful. And the construction, most of Broken Arrow, while it really got its big boom in 2000, not 2000, in the 1970s, it then was hit a little bit by the oil crash. So in the 1980s, we had a lot of lower end, I don't say cheap housing, but more affordable was the focus. And then now, ever since, say, the 2000s, we've seen a lot of middle priced, 300 upper twos to $400,000 price point, where you have good quality homes and nice luxury features, open kitchens.
So this house here is going to be pretty representative of something around that 350, maybe high 3 mark, right? What you would find in Broken Arrow. Exactly.
Granite countertops. You see the stainless steel appliances. This is an area called Forest Ridge, and that has a golf course. It's a full master planned community. So you have workout, fitness center, restaurant, sure, clubhouse, all of those types of things built into this one area.
And what's the beds, baths, and square footage on this one?
All right, good question. $350,000 is the price. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and the square footage, the range on this one is not specifically reported. It's between 2,500 and 2,750 square feet is the range on it.
Got it. Okay. So a really good sized 3-bedroom home.
Yeah, absolutely. They've not crammed the bedrooms in. They've put more into the open, spacious feel of it, which is popular among those who are retiring in this area, want to be near the golf course, et cetera.
Sure.
So that's taking a look at Broken Arrow, which, let me pull you right down here, and that's falling right into the deep part of Broken Arrow. Then you have Broken Arrow itself, which has kind of reinvented itself. It's old Main Street and an area called the Rose District. You can get some condos, new like urban style living, even though it's a suburban area. And I just toured some of those today, and they're starting around $200,000. So we're talking about very nominal costs for housing here.
And about how far is Broken Arrow? I mean, I can kind of count the blocks for miles here, but about what's the commute look like if you're living in Broken Arrow, but maybe you're working in Tulsa?
From driveway to parking spot, if you were in the center core, like downtown area, 15 miles. So you could lengthen that, or many of our businesses are located more here in the center,
Okay.
the midtown area, not necessarily downtown. So you can easily look at a 15 to 30-minute drive into work.
Very easy. Yeah, especially coming from California, Darryl. I mean, I drove down to Silicon Valley this morning, and fortunately I left early and beat traffic, but it was still, an hour and 15 minutes, which normally would be about an hour and a half, an hour and 45. So for California, Scott, that's an easy drive.
You're right. And one of the things we're always selling, Scott, is how much of your time do you want to spend living in the car? How much of your life do you want to spend living in your car? So good point. So another area that I'm really always excited to show is, and you can see the density of it being a little lighter here, is the Jinx neighborhood. This is where we have a whole lot, or not Jinx neighborhood, Jinx, the city of Jinx, another suburban area. And there's a whole lot of development now taking place here. So we get plenty of new construction. You're looking at a straight shot from Tulsa. The access is great. Again, between 10 to 15 miles from driveway to your parking spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the areas that are most popular here, I want to jump across. I may come back to some of these. Winchester Park, one of our new neighborhoods, these are $350,000. And Hyde Park, though, is one of these areas that, let me go back to this one. Hyde Park has it's a 55 plus neighborhood, so an adult community. It has the clubhouse with game room, library, pickleball courts, the entertainment area that you don't have to maintain, and it's all just included in your monthly dues. And these are luxury homes. I mean, really appointed with the things that most retirees want. So your solid surface, high ceilings, lots of trim, and updated decor, because everything's within just a few years. And the premium that you pay here is because of all of the common elements that are a family home.
And is that considered like a home, like the HOA dues type thing? Is that what you guys call it there? Okay.
Yes, homeowners association dues. And I'll look down here real quick. And these dues are $310 monthly. And I do believe in Hyde Park that includes your lawn maintenance as well. So I have sold several of these properties here, mm-hmm. working for the developer. And when I calculated the amount of money that you spend on the homeowner's dues, that it was less than all of the services that I was currently paying for on my own at my own single family home. I was ready to move in. They just wouldn't approve my age.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you're quite there yet, but yeah, you got a little ways. Well, and it's interesting because a lot of the communities that we have here, the 55 plus, it's mix of detached homes, we'll call patio homes, condos, townhomes. It's not uncommon to see $700, $800, $900 a month HOA, even up to $1,200, $1,300. Now, of course, the prices are impacted. Prices are going to be much less than relative real estate out of those areas. But to see something where, HOA dues in the 300s to be able to have, access to all those amenities, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I spent $300 on pool chemicals last month. So,
there you go. Yeah.
And somebody else is maintaining it for you.
Yeah.
And here's another example in Hyde Park. The farmhouse look here on this one is very popular, and I've been in this home, and it's if you're looking for something a little more rustic, you can see the difference between the two, and literally just custom build what you want. There's still lots available. And
so are these kind of a mix of resale and new construction in this area?
There are, I think, a couple of resale out there now, mostly new construction. It's about 50% built out. Yes. So you're starting to see some turnover, but not a whole lot yet.
Still pretty new. Okay.
Yes.
And so the average price point, if somebody was interested in, the 55 plus community, something like this, your average price point, what's that range going to look like?
Well, this is only of this one, I would say 400,000 and up to get the bulk of the market. There are several other areas that Spicewood, French Creek, and those can be anywhere from the upper twos to about 400. So a lot of selection.
Yeah.
Without
and very reasonable. Yeah.
Very.
Okay. Excellent.
So if we jump out of, that's our adult communities there. And I showed you some of the single family, I think. Let me do one more in Jinx. This I liked because of the aerial view. You could kind of see the density with the houses around it. This is pretty typical. So you have a decent yard, but they're not really large. Most of our larger lots are older homes. So if you're looking at new construction, you'll probably find a quarter to a third acre lot, depending on the size of the house. But this one is a good example. Wrought iron railing and features that just kind of add to the ambiance of the home. And this one, I think, falls in the about 600,000, one of our nicer estate areas, Stonebrook Estates.
And that's a large house. It looks like 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bath, about 4,500 square feet on a quarter acre. So, yeah.
And across the street here, it's likely, I'd have to sort through the pictures. Across the street here, you might have the pond. In Stonebrook Estates, you have, and a lot of these neighborhoods here are newer neighborhoods, you have the community features that are the parks and the ponds that, even though the houses may be in a standard format of 15 to 20 feet apart, you have a lot of open feeling to your space because you've got that community area in front or behind you.
So would most of these type of subdivisions have HOA dues since they're newer built?
Yes. And this one is $625 annually, to give you a comparison here. That's a nominal amount of money for a gated entry and some of the other things that this offers.
Okay.
So those are two suburbs, Broken Arrow and Jinx, and of course there are others that are going to fall somewhere in those lines. But getting into the more historic areas of Tulsa or Midtown, one of our popular areas, well, two of them would be Sunset Terrace and Maple Ridge. These are our old oil neighborhoods when Tulsa was young, and these would be our suburban areas. And here's a small bungalow. Let me check the price on it before I show you pictures. $330,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. So many of your older homes might have a 2-bedroom, 1 bath because of the era they were built in. So I picked this one because it's a 3-2 and still does have a garage. And a lot of that charm and character, hardwood floors, most of the trim here would be original. This has had an updated kitchen, moderately updated. So it's a big difference in price of how much space you're getting, but you can see the character of it. Now this, I think I'd sent you a message, Scott, about the Gathering Place, which is our very large park, which was a private gift. It's the largest private donation to a city in the history of the United States, even surpassing Central Park. And part of that is an endowment to keep the city going. I might have put a link in the email that I sent you, but the Gathering Place in Tulsa is so remarkable. It has transformed our city, created a huge buzz, but more than anything, it gives people a place to gather here in Tulsa. And it is a first-class park that has playgrounds, attractions for the kids, basketball courts. It's right on our river. And
can you pull that up on the Google map, Darryl? Just get kind of a proximity of where that's at.
Absolutely. Let me actually pull in the so here we've got downtown. Let me pull in the zoom in so you can see how large it is. And this is a brown version of the park right here next to the river. But
Mhm.
this whole area where you see Redbud Cafe, all the way around through this this southern part here, this is the park. It covers, I guess it's about a mile long, and
Okay.
surrounded by residential property, and more to come. It's truly an amazing addition to the city, and architecturally attractive. When you're in the park, you don't realize that you're right in the center of Tulsa. It's very well excluded, or secluded, excuse me. Okay, so if Maple Ridge, by the way, let me go back to the map. Maple Ridge is this area directly east of the park. So this is that historic area of Maple Ridge. And so these houses here would have belonged to oil barons and executives, the doctors and people of their day. Most of our homes here have really interesting stories.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of history, right? Just because of, everything that's gone on.
A whole lot of history, yes. So here's one in Sunset Terrace. So this is right along the river. It's 529,000. And what you'll find is once we get over a certain price point, say over 500,000, we'll start to see some of our houses that might sit on the market for a little bit. And that's kind of can signify that it's a good time to make a purchase. And I think where in other markets, houses may only last for a few days, you see it in Oklahoma, where these houses, which might just be considered a steal elsewhere, can be a steal at the 529,000. You may have time to think through your purchase here, and it's not such a high pressure purchase.
That's always nice, especially if you're new to the area. You want to have an opportunity to go out there and, make a couple visits, do some due diligence on your own, and, not feel like you're having to be pressured in a market where if you don't put in an offer in the first couple of days, you're going to lose an opportunity, right?
Right. And we have those, of course, but our price point is different. So again, this one here if you have your comment about the quality of this house, it's a nice home, and been on the market for 432 days.
Wow.
Well, that's remarkable. I've been in the house. It has some unique features. I know why it probably hasn't appealed to everyone, but you're talking, I think, probably 100 steps, and you're at the Gathering Place Park. I mean, who can say that? Here's another one, a little bit newer style in the general area, and more open, not the historic look. And open kitchen.
Interesting. Is that kind of like a loft area above that, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you look down from the upper section, and there's a game room upstairs with the bedrooms. So looking for some of those pictures up there. And actually, looking at this one of the reasons I paused, I've sold this house at one time. It's a nice home. So here's your master that has a little bar in it. That's my favorite thing.
That looks like a refrigerator over there. Okay.
Wake up and have some coffee.
Or a bedtime snack, right?
Great master bathroom, by the way. I love those sinks.
And so that's what was the price point in the beds and baths on that?
575,000 there, and just under 4,000 square feet. So 4 bedrooms, 3 full, 1 half bath, and corner lot, just under 4,000.
Okay. In a lot of areas, there are some areas in the Bay Area where there are those style homes, and that home right there would go for close to $2 million, if not over $2 million, easily.
Yeah.
depending on location.
So that's, I mean, that's a good representation of what Tulsa has to offer. And I can, of course, show you many more, but if I put Tulsa, downtown Tulsa, right here in the center, there's this upper left-hand quadrant, which is beginning to see a lot more activity. It's the Osage Hills, very rich in Native American history. The Trail of Tears runs through there. And we have a lot of lakes right up here. Skytook Lake is a very popular place. You can see its proximity. You can live on the lake and be as close as you would be if you lived in Broken Arrow. And a lot of people choose to do that. So many options here.
So for the buyers that are coming out there, and obviously this would be dependent on the area that they're focusing on, but are they typically looking at new construction or resale, or maybe, you know, a combination of the two? Usually
a combination of the two. We have a good resale market and a good new construction market. And I actually end up showing people both most of the time to let them kind of determine where they think they fit in. Obviously on resale, people are looking more for trees and established communities. Our new construction is often in the southern part of Tulsa. It may have been a sod farm. We're known for our sod farms. So there, you know, you don't have trees and landscaping that's established yet. That takes another 5 to 10 years.
So you mentioned as far as the market's concerned, and I'm kind of jumping into it, you know, jumping around into a different section here, but obviously it sounds like over $500,000 price point, your days on market is going to be 45 days and well beyond, as we've seen in at least one example here. What's kind of the price point to where you're seeing, you know, homes move quickly, inventory levels low?
If you're buying something under 300,000, you should expect to need to make an offer right away, especially if it's one of the few that you've liked, because there's a lot of high demand. There's high demand in that. We'll see multiple offers on anything that we've got under 250,000, for example.
So Darryl, you mentioned a couple of communities for retirement, 55 plus. We talked about Hyde Park, and we talked about some of the Spicewood development, which is a little bit, you know, in the lower end of the price range.
Right.
A lot of people that we talk to when they're, you know, putting together kind of their planning, you know, as far as 55 plus, access and proximity to healthcare is always a really, really, you know, big concern and a big factor they're taking into consideration when they're choosing an area to go to. But tell us a little bit about, you know, Tulsa from a perspective of healthcare.
Okay, we are a regional healthcare town where a lot of people end up here because they're coming from one of the smaller communities, and so between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, we have a lot of that. Let me kind of give you an idea. The reason Jinx is growing, there's a collection, a group of medical offices that have specialties right along the 71st Street, Tulsa Hills area. Our hospital, our main hospital, would be St. Francis, and it is right here in the center. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to be, St. Francis is right here. Okay. Well, now I'm having trouble. Anyway, right here in the center. And then we have another hospital that's right over here on the southern side. And so all of that retirement housing that I talked about fits along this band, either right here along 169 over into the running north and south, or over onto the west side. So easy access to about any medical service you want. We have a Cancer Treatment Centers of America located here. It's on the southern side of town, so you're looking right over in this area. And a lot of people travel here for that. Some people just decide to move and stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like there's good options for people, especially if, you know, if that's a concern of theirs, being close to healthcare service providers, and, you know, so you guys have that covered out there.
Right.
Let's go into a little bit about, kind of the growth, what's fueling, the growth for people moving there. What are some of the larger, more prominent industries that you guys have there, and what are you seeing are some of the growth industries that are bringing jobs in and creating employment opportunity?
Well, aerospace has been a big driver of our economy for a long time. Oil, still a very big part of our economy. Exploration, and then the telecommunications has been a big deal. So some of our pipelines were actually converted, our pipeline easements were converted for easements for telecommunications. So it's been an interesting chain of events, but those are probably our largest. Now, something else that's interesting is tourism has really jumped up on our economic drivers. And I think tourism is now somewhere in the top 5, but a lot happening there. And a good reason. There's a lot to do here in Oklahoma that's getting back to Native America, and it's an inexpensive vacation. So,
and like you said, it's such close proximity to so many different states and major cities that it's an easy area to get to, right? For a lot of people within relative, driving distance.
Right.
How about we get into, we talked a little bit about kind of what's going on with the home price trends. Things that Californians probably don't want to talk too much about, at least if you're in California, is taxes. So maybe we can cover that a little bit. Tell me what is your state income tax for Oklahoma?
We're at about 5%. And I think the follow-up to that, because it's so hard to compare taxes from one state to the next, and where does it really come out if one thing's attractive and something else isn't? Yeah. So we have a state income tax, and our property tax is, if you have a $300,000 house, you can expect probably to pay $3,500 to $3,800 a year in taxes and property taxes. So those are the big chunks of tax that you'll pay.
So you've got about 5,000, or I should say 5%. Right. And obviously, there's scales, of this, so it's not just one number, but to kind of give an idea, you're about 5%. California state income tax is right around 12.3%. So we're obviously more than double that. Our property tax rate generally starts at 1.25% and goes up. There might be special assessments that are, on top of the 1.25%. It sounds like from the numbers that you gave us, you're a little bit over 1%, right? On your property taxes.
And we don't have a special assessment issue here. I mean, there's those, you might have a homeowners association, but we don't have a special assessment being tacked on to properties.
There's some high growth areas around here, especially new construction, where in the last 5 years and for ongoing new construction, they're adding what they call mellow roofs. So that's an additional, tax that's collected to cover, the bonds for schools, parks, different things like that in those areas. So it's interesting because you can be in one community and, the effective tax rate might be, closer to 1.8% or, something like that. And then one community over that doesn't have those special assessments because the homes are older is going to be closer to that 1.25%. So there's going to be a little bit of a variation, based off of that. Tell me what's your sales tax over there?
You'll usually see about 9%. So in the 8s on up to, depending on the county and whatever district you're in, the top, you shouldn't ever see anything more than 10. I don't think we have anything around here that's more than 10.
Okay. But, and I think we're at about 8.25%, maybe to the upper 8s is about what we're at on the sales tax. Let me ask you this, Darryl, what are you guys paying for a gallon of gas right now? When's the last time you filled up at the gas station?
I drove an RV from Tulsa, taking my family on a trip to Wyoming. And I was so happy to get back. I went ahead and drained the tank so that I could fill up when I got here before I returned it to my in-laws. And our gallon of gas is about $2.20 to $2.40. So much better than what I was discovering elsewhere. About $2.80, $2.90.
Well, I'll tell you what you would have paid if you would have taken the RV all the way west to California. You would have been up to about, I think right now we're at about $4 to about 420.
Oh,
That's
wow.
down
Yeah.
from a couple of months ago. So I guess everybody's real happy, that we're down to, about $4. But we've seen several occasions in the last 6 months where we've seen it, 440 to 450. And of course, there's going to be areas like in San Francisco where you're going to see that closer to $5. So obviously, it's all relative to where you're at. But yeah, I think we have you beat on the cost of gas. I don't know if that's a winning.
I'll let you win.
Yeah, you'll let us win on that. Talk a little bit about what people can expect as far as climate's concerned. And I'll preface this by saying that California does have some of the best weather anywhere. There is no doubt about it. And that's a tough pill for people to swallow when they're looking at quality of life outside of California. Take into consideration a lot of different things, right? Some of it's financially related. Some of it's going to be related to climate. It's hard to replicate that, but give us kind of an idea of what you could expect, being in the Tulsa area year round.
Well, we do experience all four seasons, and I am wearing a very light shirt today because, light in material fabric, because it's one of our hotter days. It'll be 97 degrees today. Yesterday, I think
that's warm.
Went just over 100. Kind of a muggy, uncomfortable August is kind of that way. And then we have some really nice spring and fall days. I'll say winter is, it's a kind of a mixed bag. We've had a very terrible ice storm a number of years ago, and became a disaster area. And when it snows, we'll get a nice covering of snow, maybe a few inches, and then it may be a mess and gone by the next afternoon. So we usually do have a well-rounded seasonal experience. So if you always like it to be warm, that's not going to be the place here. If you always like it to be warm, you're going to have some days that are too hot, too warm for you. But our general climate is, especially the past few years, as I've noticed, maybe I'm just getting old and I'm enjoying sitting out on the back porch a lot.
Right.
But our general climate is very nice. And a lot of my friends who are retired, they choose to leave for the hottest part of the summer. They'll go north for a little bit, and then the coldest part of the winter, they'll go south. And again, because of our cost of living, they can afford to do that. And most of their time is spent here, though.
So does it get humid there?
It is humid, yes. And that's mostly in the middle of the summer. And August, I'd say August is the worst month for that. But it'll cool off quickly. It's interesting. I think a lot of people say this about their area, but when you move to Tulsa, because of where we fit in the jet stream, we can see a 20-degree swing in the day from noon to 3 or 4 o'clock. It'll hit us pretty hard
in the same day.
Yeah, in the same day. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not uncommon. We'll talk about it because it doesn't happen every day, but it's not uncommon to see that kind of thing.
Yeah. Sometimes you hear about that, but it might be 24 hours later, 48 hours later that you would see that type of a difference. But for the same day, that's pretty crazy. I guess you just, pack for all occasions, right? If you're out and about.
Always check the weather.
Yeah, check the weather. So it sounds like there's not really an accumulation of snow where you're at. You might wake up and there'd be a dusting. It might be gone, but you're not shoveling yourself out in the morning times generally. Is that right?
Rarely. As a matter of fact, it's periodically we will have a storm, a series of storms that will keep it on the ground. But I would say that's more of a every few years kind of thing. We don't keep snow blowers, snowmobiles. I don't even have someone on as a realtor. I've got all the people I need in my phone, and I don't know who I'd call to shovel snow or to plow it out. So it's that kind of thing. It's usually easier to just wait 24 hours and let it melt off.
So do you own a pair of snow skis or snowboard? Do people?
I don't.
Okay. So if somebody did, if they wanted it, if they're interested in kind of the winter sports, how far away would that be from where you guys are at?
Well, most of our people here will go to Colorado or one of the popular ski areas.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of skiers here. There's a big social environment for it, but they leave to ski.
So, okay. So, and obviously you're in proximity to get to some beautiful resorts, some really nice areas to do that at.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us a little bit more. We talked a little bit. Well, tell us a little bit more about the River Park Trail System. Obviously, you have the Arkansas River. What are some of the other things that people like to do for recreation? What's popular for people in the summertime as well as the wintertime?
Well, I'll tell you, our trail system stays busy all year, and I use it quite a bit. Just to show you how far it goes, the same trail system, if you can see, can you see my cursor over here in the Sand Springs area, upper left-hand corner? Our trail system goes up here. It wraps all the way around, goes up into Turley, all the way down south along the river, and accompanies this loop around Broken Arrow. It runs up the 169 corridor. They're doing some work on that now. It runs down to Bixby. Mm-hmm. I actually ride my bike frequently to get coffee in the mornings, and I'll ride my bike from about right here over to Riverside, and I'm on the street for less than a half mile because it's by bike trail the rest of the way. So that is growing in popularity just because of how that trail system has been connected.
And that's mostly contiguous?
Almost all contiguous. There are a few areas where we're still connecting it. And so you might have to be off the trail for a short period, but there's been a substantial move to create bike paths to make Tulsa a very bike-friendly city. And we have so much university presence between Oral Roberts University, Tulsa University, Oklahoma University, and Oklahoma State University, among others that are on the list with Langston Hughes, et cetera. Those create a lot of traffic with students, and they like to get around on bikes.
Tell us a little bit more about the university that you have there, and what some of the popular studies are, and give us a little more indication on that, how that works.
Well, Tulsa University, private university, is well known for its law school and for petroleum engineering. Oral Roberts University, which came out of the Oral Roberts Evangelistic Association, separate entity, but very missional oriented, and people come from all over the world for Oral Roberts University. And then we have our two state schools, OSU and OU, which have a campus presence here. They are not based in Tulsa, but they provide classes, and they also have bus service I know OSU does, so you can catch a bus and go to work or go to school in Stillwater with that transportation. So a lot of people take advantage of that.
So those are kind of extension campuses for the university.
Yes. Yeah. Substantial, and I'll call them substantial extension campuses because they have quite a bit of service there. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you guys you might not even have the need for, new mass transportation options, but is there a need for that, what we would call out here, train, rail, light rail, different things like that?
We don't have rail, but we do have, we have a vision for how that fits into the city. And the newest thing that has started this year is what we call Peoria Bus Rapid Transit. And our previous problem was we were such a city of sprawl that we didn't have mass transit to get around. If you took the bus, we had a bus system, It's a good bus system, but it's not really functional for someone who wants to have a job. If you buy ice cream, it'll be melted by the time you get home. So you couldn't really plan on anything. And the Peoria and 11th Street is Route 66, historic street. Peoria has bus rapid transit now, and that's our highest density part of town. So Many people live and work along that corridor. You can catch a bus every 10 minutes, it may be 15 minutes, but that's a very reliable form of transportation. And that's also extending along 11th Street. So if you're living in the city of Tulsa and you're running along those corridors, you have very reliable transportation. And of course, we're a small enough city that an Uber or taking a bike, we have scooters. Those are all other forms that people choose. But generally, if you live in Tulsa, you need a car.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's a lot of cities that have had such explosive growth over the years. And we talk about this when I'm interviewing, brokers from other cities. Some of them have planned for the growth, and some of them have not and are trying to play catch up. And I don't think you guys are there yet. Maybe in the planning stages, but not in the necessity stage. But it is interesting to see just the growth that's happening, and in a lot of places that infrastructure is not there when it's needed.
Right. And we do have proactive plans and working on that. So it's available, but not all in place yet. I'd have a backup car.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, if you got to drive, 20 minutes, you got to drive 20 minutes, right? So that's okay. Darryl, this has been great. So we've covered, I think, a lot of different topics. Is there anything that you wanted to, to mention that we didn't cover?
Probably not specifically, other than just the general quality of life in Tulsa as I travel, and the things that I miss. Everything from our culture of local coffee roasters. I don't find another city that has the quality of what we have. Our local brewers, microbreweries, the quality of our parks and recreation, the tight-knit community that we have of a city of our size, the culture of the museums, the largest collections of artworks and things that we have here, the number of bands and music that comes out of Tulsa. It's a very interesting and eclectic mix that you have in this city, and you can call it home, and many people do, and it's a great lifestyle.
What is the population of the metro area of Tulsa?
Metro area, I've heard people stating now that the most recent census numbers put us up about 1 million. I have often just quoted us at about 750,000. I think depending on how you count it, you might get a few head of cattle in there if you get too high. But
right. Well, and that's like you said, to me, that's a population of a community. Right. Because it's really it's not the sprawled out, it's not huge, and being in the San Francisco Bay Area, obviously, we've got several cities that are over 1 million in population.
And I have an appointment at Whole Foods here in just a minute, and I'll run into somebody that I know, and that's something that's really nice. It's across town from where I live, but it still feels like my community.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Darryl, this has been great. Really appreciate all the input. If somebody wants to come and pay a visit with you and your team, and maybe wants to do an afternoon or a day tour with you guys to get to know the area, is that something you guys are okay with?
And that's absolutely what we do.
Excellent. Okay, awesome. Well, we'd love to, anybody who's watching this, if you'd like to take advantage of that, just email us at info@leavingthebayarea.com. We'd be happy to get you in touch with Darryl and his team. We'll take great care of you out there, as he's already done with us here on today's webinar. So, Darryl, thanks again. Look forward to staying in touch, and I appreciate your time today.
Always good to visit with you, Scott. Thank you.
Take care. Okay, bye for now.